Hey, what up, everybody? Adam here. I'm in my office and I'm getting my feet back underneath me after a couple weeks of national conference. And I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you. Thank you to all the people who've been listening to the Ferment. I talked to so many of you at the conferences, and it was great to hear how the podcast is blessing and encouraging you. You know, I had a feeling when we started this that it was going to be a good thing, but the past 8 months they've just blown me away. You've texted, you've emailed, and you stopped by our Sing Together booth at the national conference, and the response has been amazing. So thank you to everybody who has written or texted, and thanks to everyone who stopped by our booth. Thanks to everyone who's rated and reviewed our podcast on iTunes. High five to you. Thanks to everyone who's shared an episode or two on your social media. And thank you to everybody who has sent an episode to your staff or a family member. Thank you for being a part of the Ferment community. Here's the good news. We have tons of really good interviews lined up and coming your way every single Monday this fall and winter. So I hope you keep on listening. All right, friends. Thanks for the way you have jumped in and become a part of our community. Peace.
When I was 14, I had some amazing experiences. I was just playing my guitar in my bedroom, going through some worship songs, and the presence of God came in the most intense way. I've never experienced anything like it since. An immediate kind of awe. I knew it was God. You know, I'm kind of driven in my worship leading. I'm looking for the presence of God in that same way. I know that that's accessible.
Yeah, it's available.
Always there's more of God to be experienced.
And you've been sort of chasing the presence of God? Would you say that's one way to frame it?
Well, you could definitely say that. I think I am chasing the presence of God. I'm chasing the presence of God for other people. Like, really want other people to know God in the same way. Those experiences happened when I was on my own, really intimate, quiet times with God. So I'm always looking for that vulnerability, that honesty. That's the goal, that we experience that intimacy with God.
You're listening to the Ferment podcast, conversations about worship and transformation. Today's guest is Samuel Lane. Sam is a worship leader, songwriter, and the creative director of the St. Albans Vineyard outside of London. Sam's list of songs include Beautiful, Fiery Love, Adore Him, Pour It Out, and Saved. This episode is brought to you by Monk Drums. Monk Drums is a creative desert venture that strives to combine beauty and business as one heartbeat. Monk Drums' main focus is handcrafted wooden drums that allow us to love, assist, and serve all who accompany us on this path. Use the coupon code FERMENTPOD to get 5% off your Monk Drums order. Find them on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Monk Drums. And every Monday, look for hashtag Monk Drum Monday. Speaking from personal experience, Monk Drums are wonderfully crafted and they sound amazing. They blend the best traits of both the djembe and the cajon, and I found them to be incredibly versatile in both the live and studio environment. Check them out at monkdrums.com.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at worshipteam.com. Worshipteam.com comes preloaded with over 12,000 songs, with new songs being added all the time. Hillsong, Bethel, Vineyard, Six Steps, Jesus Culture, just to name a few. Service building with Worship Team is a snap, and all the songs are completely legal and licensed. You can also find them on social media, Facebook at worshipteam.com, Twitter at worshipteam, Instagram at worshipteam_WT. Visit them at worshipteam.com for a free trial today. Complete worship planning with thousands of songs, easy interface, mobile apps, and legal rights for your church. All you need in one place, worshipteam.com.
Hey everyone, this is Mike O'Brien, director of the Vineyard School of Worship. We release a new single on the first Friday of every month. Our latest single, Everything, is an energetic, up-tempo anthem for the modern church. Featuring dynamic newcomer Liam Bernhardt on vocals, Everything pulses with echoes of Young the Giant and the Killers.
All that we're waiting for, Jesus is standing at the door. Don't have to fight it, don't have to run no more. This is where life begins. We open the door and let you in. You are the morning, you let the sunlight in. You're the air that we're needing. You're the fire that we're seeking.
Like all of Vineyard Worship's monthly singles, everything comes with a toolkit of resources, tutorials on various instruments, multi-track stems, as well as a live in-studio video of the song. Look for these resources and more at vineyardworship.com/everything. Find everything and all of our singles wherever you listen to music.
All right, everybody. I'm in Denver, Colorado. And this time I have a friend from across many waters with me. Sam Lane is here.
Hey.
That's right. I'm so stoked to have this conversation.
Yeah.
It's good to have the Brits on American soil.
Yeah. We need to do that more, I think.
I think we do. We absolutely do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're about to do the second part of our national conference here in Denver, and Sam's coming to be a part of that. So I thought, goodness gracious, we need to have a conversation. Put it
cool.
on record. All right. Hey, Sam, let's do this. Tell me where you grew up. I think a lot of people know that you're a Brit and that you write a lot of songs for the Vineyard, but like, where'd you grow up?
Well, I'm a pastor's kid, as many of us are. I'm still there, actually. I've been in St. Albans for 30 years now. My parents just retired at the end of last year. So we planted that church in 88.
Okay, so your parents planted it and you were just a kid at the church.
I was just a kid running around, did the OHP.
Yeah.
We went to Anaheim for a year. My dad was being trained, so...
What, like 87?
87, 88, yeah.
Okay, wow.
John Wimber.
How old were you?
I was 7 and 8
Oh, man.
years
amazing.
old, so...
Amazing.
Loved the kids group.
Yeah.
You know, the old lady singing My Bible Lies Over the Ocean. I still remember that.
Do you?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I said the sort of sinner's prayer, like, earlier, like when I was 4 or 5 years old. But for me, the Anaheim Vineyard experience is where it really became real for me, you know?
Yeah. What do you remember besides the old lady singing a little tune to you? What do you remember about the Anaheim Vineyard? Like, or what was... Maybe just even emotional resonance. What kind of feels come back to you?
It was just, you know, I mean, obviously 7 and 8 years old.
Yeah.
But lots of really friendly mother and father types, older people than I was.
Yeah.
I remember the worship. I remember, you know, this is long before I picked up a guitar. I remember like amazing guitar solos and just, you know.
Were you captured by that even at a young age?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely made an impact on me. Yeah. And it wasn't, you know, I was 12 when I started to learn, but so it was quite a long time.
Yeah. Okay. So what did you start learning first?
Acoustic for a month, and then it was electric and I had lessons for about 4 or 5 years or something.
Okay. In England, you just had like a teacher from the church?
Yeah, from our church. There was a guy that was an insane guitarist, and he gave us a good rate.
That's right. Yeah. And then when did you start leading worship?
First time I led worship, I was 14, and that was in our youth group, which was about 40 kids at the time. And I was like one of the youngest there. Like it was the whole teenage spectrum, and very nervous.
Did you lead with a co-leader?
No, just on my own. There was a band behind me, and I'm sure it was a bit rough around the edges, you know.
Yeah. Those tapes don't exist, right? They've been burned.
Yeah, they never existed.
Yeah.
My youth pastor was Graham Ord, who wrote
really?
Gracious and Compassionate.
Yeah, amazing.
So we had, had an amazing kind of worship pastor, youth pastor in that sort of formative years.
Yeah. So when did you start writing songs?
Straight away, like when I was 12, yeah. So
really?
I was reading the lyrics actually to my first song on the plane here, just randomly saw a picture of them.
Okay, wait, you had a picture of your first lyrics on your phone?
Yeah, well, I took photo of my like old journals. Like I took a photo of every page, you know, because a while ago I did it. And then I threw the journal away. I was like just trying to clear out. I'm such a minimalist, you know. It's just like, but I wanted to sort of capture some of the songs that I'd written. So
okay, so what was your first song about?
It was called "I Want to Be Used by You."
And this is 12-year-old Sam Lane writing
this
this.
is 12-year-old me.
That's right. Anything in there usable?
It would need some pretty in-depth rewriting, I think.
Okay, well, there you go. You know what to do.
I still remember the melody, but
Do you? Okay, can you sing us like one or two lines? You got to sing us one or two lines.
Man.
One or two lines. You know the melody.
So the chorus was, I don't know what key I'm going to sing this in.
That's okay.
I want to be used by you. I want to be used. Yeah. There you go.
Pop magic. Pop magic, everybody. Oh, man. Well, hey, let's talk about maybe past that a little bit. When did you know that you were going to be a worship leader? You're not just leading worship in the youth, but you go, okay, this is what God has for me in my life.
Well, I knew straight away. It was like the first quarter. It was like, I'm going to be a worship leader, and so I'll get some lessons and I'll write songs straight away. And I just had this desire. I mean, previous to that, I was wanting to be a football player, a soccer player.
Yeah. Did you play soccer growing up?
Yeah.
Okay. What was your position?
I was a striker.
Okay. Okay. You have the speed.
I had the speed.
Yeah. You had the touch.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was pretty good.
Pretty good. Could you bang one in from outside the 18?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Easy. I played at Wembley Stadium when I was 14 years old.
Okay. Okay. Tell us about that. What was that?
That was we did a little. There was a skills show before at the end of every season. There's playoffs to see who gets promoted to the next season and things like that. And just entertainment really. At halftime, they put on a skills show, and I played for St Albans City Youth team, and so they were looking for young players to do this show. So
That's great. What a memory.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
I have 4 kids. All of them play soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And my oldest, River, is going into his senior season at his high school. And so we're in deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in deep.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big commitment.
That's right. Yeah. No, it's all consuming.
Yeah.
So you decided to be a worship leader. Did that mean at the same time that you were going to step away from soccer at a certain level?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so up until when I was around that age, the league I was playing for, the team I was playing for, moved to a Sunday morning league. And so immediately had this conflict with church on Sundays. And I kept on playing for a couple of years, but kind of like afternoon games and midweek games and stuff. But it was pretty evident that I couldn't be professional anymore this way. And I remember my dad pulling me into this room and saying, and was like, you need to make a decision here,
Yeah. So that's probably like the biggest
so tough.
decision. That's the biggest decision you'd made in your life.
Yeah, so tough. Yeah, and I still what would have happened if I'd gone the other way? Every now and then.
Yeah.
When I'm watching the World Cup and England are playing really bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But
You can imagine yourself in the white jersey with the lion on the lion crest on the front.
Yeah, my 12-year-old self can imagine that.
That's
yeah.
right. Okay, so before we get back to worship leading, who's your favorite Premier League team?
Aston Villa.
They
are Premier League now as
Okay.
well because they just got promoted.
Okay. Are they going to be able to stay?
Who knows? Yeah,
Okay.
probably.
Probably.
I'm hoping.
Okay, so at St. Albans, who do most people like?
The nearest team are Watford.
Okay.
But a lot of people support Arsenal.
Okay.
Yeah, we're really close to London, so there's like Chelsea and Spurs.
so the whole
mixed
thing.
in. Yeah.
Yeah. At least in my mind as an American, and I've been to England a couple times and I'm still feeling it out, but people have like lifelong allegiances to their football team,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's brutal, right? Like you love
Yeah.
your team, you hate all the others.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like there's no reason why I should support Aston Villa other than I made that decision
When did you make that decision?
when I got back from California.
Okay.
So I was 8 years old.
Okay.
And
And you just said Aston Villa, that's my team.
I watched a game and they played Man United and they won 3-1 and were exciting and they were the underdogs and
Yeah.
that was
That's
it.
great. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay. So you knew straight away, back to worship leading, you knew straight away that you wanted to be a worship leader, and you were like kind of intentional about it. When we get guitar lessons, I'm going to write songs.
Yeah. Well, when I had made that decision that I wasn't going to pursue football anymore, I suddenly had like hours and hours in my day every day.
That's right.
Because I was like, well, I'm not going to, I've got all this spare time now. So that's when I took up the guitar.
Yeah.
And soon just got really passionate about worship. And when I was 14, I had some amazing experiences. A couple times, had this one experience. I was leading worship. I was just playing my guitar in my bedroom and going through some worship songs, and the presence of God came in the most intense way. I've never experienced anything like it since. I could literally saw like a ripple, like calm down in my room, and immediate kind of awe and fear of God. I knew it was God, but it was so intense. I ran out of the room. I ran out and ran downstairs.
You just put your guitar down and ran out.
Yeah, there was no decision. It was instinctive, had to get out of there,
What do you think that was about?
Well, I think it was God, revealing himself to me. It's been interesting. Like when I went downstairs and I immediately regretted it. I was like, oh, what would have happened, if I'd stayed? Yeah. Like, God's in my bedroom right now. Yeah. Don't go anywhere near it, But so I prayed, like, God, do it again.
Yeah.
And next time I'll stay.
Yeah.
And it did happen 2 weeks later. Exactly the same thing.
Amazing.
And I ran out of the room again.
Okay.
Yeah. And I kind of think I didn't have any choice in a way. I feel like the presence of God was so intense that it's, we can't, how it says, like, if you see God, you just can't see the face of God and survive.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
It felt big.
Yeah. It was massive. And, and I prayed again, like, God, come, and this time I'll stay. And I haven't felt the presence of God in that way again. I've felt close,
Of course.
But I feel like it's been formative for me because I think both times I was just playing worship songs. So I feel like it was God sealing that on my life, to, just showing that he is undeniably real. And I, even in my darkest moments, I can always
you
rely
can think,
on
and
that.
you can go back even to those experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know something happened to me.
Yeah. So there's absolutely no doubt that God is real, in my mind. And for me, I'm kind of driven in my worship leading. I'm looking for the presence of God in that same way. And I know that's accessible.
Yeah, it's available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so always there's more of God to be experienced, you know. And
well, just picking up on that, like one of the things I wanted to ask you was sort of about your approach to worship, because my experience of you, both on your records and in like worship leading moments, that you're this really odd combination of strength and tenderness. That's one way I would sort of describe like who you are, what you bring to the table, and like what's that about? What's your approach? And I mean, is it so formative? Like it's from this moment, like something happened to you when you were 14, a couple times, and you've been sort of chasing the presence of God. Would you say that's one way to frame it? I don't know.
Yeah, well, you could definitely say that. I think I am chasing the presence of God. I'm chasing the presence of God for other people. Like really want other people to know God in the same way. Those experiences happened when I was on my own, really intimate, quiet times with God, you know, and so I'm always looking for that vulnerability, that honesty, that intimacy, that level of intimacy with God. And
that's a like core Vineyard value.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, you know, that's the goal, you know, for me in worship, is that we we experience that intimacy with God.
Sam, about that, you were talking about vulnerability and intimacy with God as like the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And those are maybe even experiences that were formed in you at an early age. I'd like to talk maybe a little bit more about that, because so much of what I would consider to be, and I'm using air quotes here, modern worship,
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Yeah.
There's not much of that. It feels dense to me sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sonically dense. The arrangements are dense, even lyrically dense sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if you're not putting your finger on something that is not only a Vineyard value, but a gift that the world still needs, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm just very aware of my need for God, you know, and I don't want to waste any time singing songs that don't really move me in that direction.
Okay, so why are you so aware of your own need for God?
It's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I've always been, I guess, something I have struggled with is self-esteem, and probably a bit of depression mixed in. And
isn't that all artists? Isn't that all of us, right? Like, you know, how to be an artist. Have some questions about your own self and be occasionally mildly depressed, at least some melancholy, right? Like,
there's definitely some torment in there. And I guess for me, the presence of God is a relief. Is the relief from that, in many ways. Not the only relief, but it's the good. It's the good relief.
Yeah, and it's and it's not going to make you a worse version of yourself.
No,
praise the Lord.
No, yeah,
praise the Lord. Talk to me just for a second about putting together a worship set.
Yeah,
a lot of worship leaders are listening to this. You've been doing this for years, since you were 14.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's Tuesday or Wednesday. You're at church. You're going to lead on Sunday. What's your thought? What's your approach for putting that set together?
Well, I'll always have. So there'll be. By that time, I'll usually have a song or two that I just feel like, I feel like God has spoken to me about, or.
So are you praying during the week? God, would you just show me some of what you want to sing this week?
Yeah, absolutely, and definitely in that process. I think it's hard to rush. You can't rush the process of planning your worship set. I mean, sometimes it can take. It's like how long is a piece of string? Sometimes it can take forever, and sometimes it can be really quick. And I think God has often stepped in. If I've got a really busy week, He'll make it really clear to me, you know, and it'll be an easy one, which is great. And then if I've got time on my hands, then I'll just really struggle with the set, But I mean, it's looking for what does God want to do? What do we as a church want to communicate to God? What's our prayer? What's what fruit are we sowing long term?
Yeah. Are you ever looking at your church and going, hey, this is an area where we're missing in worship, or maybe there's something that's not there, and you're looking to interject that new or that corrective into it?
There are correctives. I mean, it happens. For me, it happens, I think, more intuitively than that, less kind of right? We haven't sung about justice for a while. Let's find some justice songs.
That's
Well,
right.
do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
but yeah, but again, going back to what I said before, for me the goal is intimacy. It doesn't mean that there's not praise, there's not joy in the set. That's all just as important. But I think I'm driven to try and bring depth to people's relationship with God.
Well, I like what you just said there. You said it's not like there's not praise or joy, but the goal is intimacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know even, with my wife, but then even beyond that, like to my very good friends, isn't it true that oftentimes like moments of joy or moments of just almost like silly hanging out, that's what makes the context for intimacy, sharing, and vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking even with my very close friends, maybe where we're sitting at maybe a decent dinner table with some decent wine, and eventually people begin to tell the truth about their actual lives. But it isn't just that moment. As good as that moment is, it was the 3 or 4 hours before when you were telling silly jokes and showing each other memes that sort of like creates the context for that.
Okay, yeah.
And I think there's some sort of an analog there for worship as well. Like, A, God deserves to be praised. B, the Psalms say there is fullness of joy in his presence.
Yeah.
But at the same time, those two things are leading us somewhere. And I think it's to exchange.
Yeah.
Vulnerability, intimacy, letting our guard down before him to tell the truth of who we are.
Yeah. I mean, it's such it's really hard to pigeonhole songs in that, this is a praise song, this is a joy song, because I think even in many of the intimate songs, they are both praise and joy as well. There's joy in God's presence, and joy in intimacy with him.
Yeah.
And
I'm even
breakthrough, that happens in those
I'm even
moments.
thinking of a little discussion I had with the worship leader at my church, Glenn Yoder, the other day. And Glenn was saying to me, he said, "Hey, I think we're gonna add that really old John Mark McMillan song back to our set." I'm like, "Which one?" He's like, "Closer," which is this wild, extremely loud, borderline punk rock song. At the end, it ends with shouting, "Son of David, do not pass me by," right?
Yeah.
It's freaking awesome. But I remember he and I started talking about that. And a few years ago, Hannah Daugherty to Spain, she led it, and she never let it get above hardly a whisper. The entire song, she kept it so quiet, and it smashed the room.
Yeah.
You know?
Cool.
And it's the point you're making. Like, no song is ever just one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, every song can be done in many different ways anyway,
Yeah.
I mean, very rarely stick to the recorded studio version of a song,
Yeah, why don't you talk to me about that? Because it feels like a lot of times in, a lot of Sunday morning bands, people just play the record version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I always try, and I think that can be helpful for musicians that are pretty new to their instrument. It's helpful for them to have something to look towards, to emulate, But I think as a musician gets better, they start to bring more of themselves to the sound. And I'm always, whether I'm leading with the band at home or I'm traveling and using a band I've not played with before, I'm always wanting to encourage them to bring their own, their own skill, their own creativity to it, their own inspiration. I've never been one of those touring worship leaders that has a band that's set from place, for ages. I've always had my band changing up all the time and stuff like that,
And isn't it fun though? I mean, on the one side, it'd be really nice to have a touring band that you just...
Oh, for sure.
Like, let's not kid the people here. That's a fun thing to have 4 or 5 people and you just
Yeah.
play together and you get great and you know what to do, right?
Yeah.
But then on the other side, I think the opportunity in what you're describing, and even as approach to songs, there's a sound that can only be made with us.
Yeah.
Like this whatever this unique collection of people is tonight,
Yeah.
or this, some Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And when we get together on that stage, only we can do what's about to happen. So
That's right, yeah.
encouraging the freedom to let people feel like, okay, we don't
Yeah.
have to maybe play the radio version hook. Like maybe we
Yeah.
should let the piano player play something different,
Yeah.
or even the entire approach.
Yeah. And that can sometimes take more work, to bring your own thing to it, But I think you've got to, you're robbing people of what God has given you if you don't do that,
Yeah.
Because you could literally just put YouTube on or something. And
Well, no, I think you bring up a great point there, right? Like, if we're going to continue to do live worship, if we're going to continue to bring a band together, have a PA, have a sound check, EQ, everything, make it as good as we can, that's a lot of work that goes into that. Like, if we're going to do all of that,
yeah.
why would we want to, and this is my opinion anyway, why would we want to simply emulate a record over and over again?
Yeah.
To your point, like, let's just put it on YouTube, put it on the big screen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of those versions are powerful versions, they do the job, which is why so many people like fall back on them, you know. I think for me, like as a worship pastor, there's been weeks where like I phoned all 8 of our drummers and none of them can drum, and I have to take the pressure off myself, we're not here to try and recreate something. We are members of the church and we want to worship together with the congregation. We're not putting on a show, and it sometimes can creep in, not that you're ever creating a show, but the pressure to perform, or the pressure to create an emotional experience.
I mean, I won't put this on you. I'll put this on me. I know that, especially in times when I was leading a lot of worship, which I don't do now, but even when I do lead worship now, there is that little voice in the back of my head that's like, hey, let's do this so that when people leave tonight, they go, worship was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
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 That's a tough voice to deal with.
It is, yeah. And that voice is always there,
Yeah. Oh, Sam, come on, tell us it goes away. Tell us it goes away eventually.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's interesting, like, the last few years I've been leading at this event in the UK called David's Tent.
Oh, what a cool event. I've
really
only
cool.
seen it from afar, but it's amazing.
Yeah, I love leading worship there. It's 72 hours of nonstop worship. But from a worship leader's point of view, it pulls up all your insecurities, like you're sandwiched between like the Helsers and Jeremy Riddle and all these big name worship leaders, right?
Yeah.
And it's so easy for you for any one of those worship leaders, any one of those 72 bands, to feel the pressure to one, they're comparing themselves to, the set before and the set after, and all those insecurities come up. And, but also like to create, like I said, to create an experience that will get you noticed in amongst all that stuff, and it really clouds your ability to do a set, to do what, God
so
would want
how
to
do
do
you
in that
overcome
moment.
it? Because you've played this several times now.
Yeah.
And you're going to play it again.
Yeah, I'm doing it again. There's another issue there where we're encouraged to bring our own songs and our own creativity and stuff to it. But there's also that other voice that says, if I do the Oceans or the Reckless Love or whatever song it is, that everyone will know, then a moment like that will happen,
Yeah.
But if everyone gave into that, those songs would be done 72 times during a weekend,
Yeah. You gotta find your own path in that.
You've got to find your own path, and it takes quite a bit of courage to. Okay, well, do your own songs. That's something I've been trying to figure out. Get confidence to to not just play it safe and rely on the surefire songs that work. But yeah, to really intentionally ask God, what do you want to do in this moment? And then a lot of the time in the moment of worship leading there, you just have to be flexible. You have to throw your plans away at times.
Yeah, do you just let it go sometimes and just, like, we're just going to follow this little thing that kind of came up?
Yeah, absolutely. And like last year, I'd worked so hard on the set for David Stent last year, and I felt like it was right, and it was doing a few of my own songs, and I had like, I was feeling like a kind of righteous courage, and in the moment, like probably two songs in, it just went somewhere else, and it felt like that was where it needed to go. You know?
So you were doing like spontaneous prophetic stuff.
Yeah,
you were just letting it go.
Yeah, I mean, we were singing that song "Saved," right?
Yeah. By the way, what a gift! That song is a gift. Yeah, I love
it. And that's just 2 chords. So that song, so often just ends up being something else. Because, you
play 1 and 4.
Yeah.
1 and 4. It's magic. It's worship leading magic.
Well, when I play it, I'm just playing G and G sus. So it's kind of like 1 chord.
Yeah. Do you let the bass player play the 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They can do
don't be, you're not a tyrant.
They can do what they want.
Yeah, you're not a tyrant. Okay, good.
But yeah, the set went a totally different way, and it was good, and it was powerful, and it was joyful, but it wasn't what I was expecting the set to be. Yeah. I came off, and it was a great time, but came off conflicted. I was just like, well, I was pretty confident that it was supposed to go this other way.
Yeah.
And I still don't know which way it should have gone, but
that's the gift of getting to do it over and over again, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, totally. So we'll try again this year.
Who played with you last year?
Mark James was playing.
Oh man, did he play his lap steel? Amazing.
Yeah, it's so much fun playing with him. He is such an anointed guy.
Yeah, you and I were talking about him off mic a moment ago. What a gift.
Yeah.
What a gift.
You can't tame him. You can't get him to play anything you'd want anyway. Like he just wouldn't remember.
Solid burn.
Yeah. No, I mean, whatever he's got in his head is way better than what you ask him to do anyway. So,
that's right.
Yeah. You got to release these people that have gifting.
Yeah. Who played drums with you? Who was the rhythm section?
A guy called Tristan Murray, who's most of the guys from St. Albans. Tristan's from Stevenage, which is a plant out of St. Albans.
Okay, so these are like your buds at home?
Yeah. Suze was doing backing. Suze Courtney.
Yeah. And if you guys don't know Suze Courtney, she's amazing. She is the one Vineyard Worship leader who might be a true professional in the world. She works at the BBC.
Yeah.
The rest of us are all slackers.
She does. Yeah.
But Suze has got a real day job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she knows what she's doing.
Yeah,
sure.
Great voice too.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, that's killer band.
Yeah, good team. Yeah.
Okay, slightly different turn here. How do you raise up a younger worship leader? Like if there's somebody at your church and you're like, okay, that guy or that girl, there's something special to them. Yeah. What is your approach to bringing them along, giving them platform, teaching them, and not just training them to be like a person who can play songs, but someone who's really leading the room?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's not easy to train someone up in that. It's a classic for people that've been around the vineyard for a while. It's the IRTDM&R thing.
Yeah, why don't you explain that?
You got to I don't know whether I'll get them all right, but
you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. I'm confident.
You got to identify the people that have a calling. That's what you're looking for, is people with calling, not just passion. But there's a lot of people that enjoy playing guitar and singing songs, but then there's like another level where there's something else on their life, you know. And so identifying the people that, yeah, this is what they're called to do. That's the tricky thing. That's what you're looking for. And then you've just got to, give them as much opportunity as you can, you know, just and release them.
Yeah, reps are important, aren't they?
Yeah. You know, if they're young, I mean, I started leading worship when I was 14. And I got to remind myself of that sometimes. You know, sometimes I look at a 14-year-old and I'm like, no way, you know.
Yeah.
And but we've got to remind ourselves that, you know.
Sam, who believed in you when you were 14?
Graham Ord was
Graham?
the worship pastor.
Yeah. Anybody else in your world that was like, Sam, you got it. I want to see you go far.
Well, my folks have been a massive part of my life, you know. When I was 14, our church was pretty small. It was like 250 or something. And Mark James turned up maybe when I was around 16 or something like that. And that was really great to have a comrade, you know, like someone who was doing the same thing in the same place. And
is Mark a little bit older than you?
Yeah, he's 5 or 6 years older than I am. But
okay, so somebody you could look up to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's an encourager. You know, he's such a good guy to chat to when I'm not doing so good. You know, but
isn't it interesting that when you're 14, you're leading worship? Not only do I believe that you have a call in worship, which I do, and not only do I believe that there was something in you that was tenacious because you're like, okay, I'm going to give up football and I'm going to play guitar, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then just in the sovereignty of God, I guess that's the only way I can say it. Graham Ward is your youth pastor.
Mm-hmm.
Your folks are your folks. But then beyond that, they're like worship people.
Yeah.
You know, and then God sends a guy like Mark James, and then all of a sudden you've got this community around you who's calling you into the thing that God has put in your life.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if you know, Brenton Brown was the first guy that he invited me to do a song for Vineyard Worship when I was 19, and it was a risk for him. It was a song called "So Near," which was like crazy kind of heavy rock, punk worship song.
Yeah.
And it totally stood out like a sore thumb on the record, you know, which was the Holy album. And they put it as the last song on the end so that it wouldn't annoy people. They could just skip it or whatever. But he really believed in me, and
I remember
and really
that
pressed
song, by
for
the
that
way.
song to get on.
I
you know?
remember that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where the door opened, and that's when I started recording with, you know, for Vineyard Worship and stuff. But
That's great. High five to Brenton.
Oh,
Brenton, if you're
totally.
if you're listening to this today, high five.
Yeah.
Good call. Way to put that song on the record. My goodness.
Yeah. Taking risks.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Sam, another question here. How do you keep your heart alive when you're leading worship week to week? And, you know, it's not exactly revival at your church or something. And, you know, it's just the weekly grind. There's demons in the sound system. Someone on the team shows up late and the guitar player didn't learn any of the licks.
Yeah.
Well, how do you keep your own heart alive and not becoming cynical or just sort of anesthetized and you're just going through the motions?
Mm-hmm. It's tricky, honestly, and I think that's right now. I think I'm pretty close to burnout. You know, if I'm really honest.
Okay, right now you are.
I have been for a few years, I think.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
So that's a real challenge. You know, for me, like at the moment, what I feel pressure from people to create these experiences. You know, and they're like, they're relying on what I can do on stage for them. You know, and so I'm wanting to run as far away from that as I can, you know.
Yeah.
And finding it difficult, you know, and it just comes through like, you know, innocent kind of comments, and the whole song "Look to Jesus" was on the last record was about that, inspired by that. I was at a conference and some guy I was going to lead worship, and some guy just said something like, I'm really looking forward tonight, bring it, or I don't know what he said. I can't even remember exactly what he said.
Yeah.
But I was just like, it's not, I can't do this, I need God.
He put the responsibility for his own heart in your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The responsibility for his relationship with God was put on my shoulders,
Sam, I think that happens a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it happens probably in a more acute way to you because you are someone who has a really distinct gift. But then I think that happens a lot just in worship in general.
Yeah.
With pastors and then congregations and whatnot. Like they're just going, okay, if I'm going to worship today, the band they have to do it. They have to do it. And the worship leader better do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the only thing I know how to do is to pray and to talk to God and to get away, find some quiet time.
What does prayer look like for you?
Well, right, it's quiet. Quiet is generally prayer for me. I've got 2 young kids, and we have a very small house and not much time or space.
Yeah. How old are your kids?
9 months and 3 years old.
Oh yeah, dude, you're in it.
Yeah,
you're completely in it.
Yeah, I can't pick up a guitar without being mobbed at home. So all my routines and places where I used to write songs and do all that stuff, they're out the window. I've got to find other places now.
That's right. That's right. So prayer is you're looking for quiet.
It's yeah. I mean, prayer is any spare moment I get.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been good. I think it's been difficult, as I said, but I think it's been good because it is pushing me into my relationship with God more, and like as I said, my reliance and I'm aware of my need for God.
So, do you have any spiritual rhythms to your life that you've developed over time?
Well, like I said, the ones I had have been totally trashed,
Okay, so you're in that spot where
I'm in the transition right now.
Yeah, you're relearning.
Yeah.
Sam, how old are you?
I'm 39.
Yeah, dude. My wife and I, we just did a podcast about this.
Yeah, it's really good.
No, I'm telling you, I'm just laughing internally because this is what happens, isn't it? Like we get our spiritual life together, and then all of a sudden, the commitments you've made, the children you've had, here we go, and we're having to learn it again, right? Yeah. You're transitioning.
I'm building it into my work hours a little bit more, which is good. So, and the pastor there has been really helpful. But just trying to find it wherever I can.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
So what do you tell yourself when you feel someone put expectations on you? I mean, is that something you just take to God in prayer immediately and just try to like let go of?
Yeah, I think so. It's just trying to ignore it, in a way. Like recently have had loads of song requests at church, from all sorts of different places. Sources,
people are saying, please play this, please.
Yeah. And it makes my job, and some of them are good, and a lot of them are great songs. The thing is, there's tons of great worship songs out there.
Oh, there's a zillion.
Yeah, that's not a problem anymore, but it makes my job harder as a worship leader to figure out what to do.
Yeah, see, I'm an Enneagram 8, so when someone comes to me and says, hey, will you do this song? That's the best way to never get that song played. It's like,
Yeah.
and it's struck from the list.
Yeah.
How long? Forever. That's how long.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that in
Yeah.
me too.
I'm just combative, you know? It's like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just me. And I'm not saying that's healthy for all the worship leaders who are listening right now.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just, being able to lead worship without thinking about, what does the pastor think of this set, this song choice, all these.
Yeah.
I'm trying to ignore everyone else a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm leading them in worship, but also trying to ignore them too.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing.
Well, I mean, I what I hear in your comments are, I hear your heart, and I specifically hear your heart to do something that touches God, to do something that's devoted to God first,
Yeah.
Like your pastor's good, God bless him. The congregation is good, God bless all of them,
Yeah.
But, there is something about worship that's for God,
Yeah.
And I that's what I hear coming through in everything you've said today.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I think it's one of the reasons why you might struggle,
Yeah.
is that you have been, maybe to have a call back from the beginning of our conversation.
Yeah.
Whatever happened when you were 14, it did something to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's pretty deeply ingrained
I think it is too.
in me.
I think it is too. Hey, let's lighten it up here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Who are your musical influences?
Well, I've gone through all sorts of phases as a teenager writing songs. I wanted to write worship songs that sounded like Pearl Jam,
Yes.
like at the beginning.
Yes.
And then, I've been through
So
it.
near.
So
hey,
near.
come
Yeah,
on,
I was
man.
trying-
Come
I
on.
was
You
trying,
were just conjuring all that West Coast, Northwest America stuff, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, it's hard to pull out names, but I definitely went through a Radiohead phase. I went through a Coldplay phase. And
Yeah. I mean, look.
all the classic, same as everyone.
If you were white guys of our age,
Yeah.
if you don't say those two bands, you're not even,
Yeah.
you're lying.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who do you like these days, though?
Right now, I really enjoy War on Drugs.
Yeah.
Because I love how they're like an antidote to a lot of other bands. Like it just sounds like they're jamming, a lot of the time, and they're great musicians.
Yeah.
But it's not like their songs are really long, and they just kind of play the same chords over and over again. And
Yeah.
and there's so much joy that comes through jamming and stuff, and nothing being too
They're free.
overproduced. They're
Yeah,
free.
They're very free.
Yeah.
There is a YouTube video. So there's a YouTube channel called KEXP, which is a radio station.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's Seattle or Portland, but they have an amazing YouTube library of people playing performances in there.
Yeah.
And the War on Drugs performance in there is mind blowing.
Yeah.
I've tried to get every worship team in America to watch this because it's like, guys, this is how you play music.
Yeah.
Do not settle for anything else.
Yeah.
If you go in there and watch, especially if you're listening right now, go on and watch. Go on and watch the drummer and the bass player.
Mm-hmm.
That rhythm section is so on it.
Yeah.
And they're having fun.
Yeah.
And it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love them.
I think that's it. You're just looking for something real. I think everyone is hungry for like authenticity and like passion and something real, honesty and lyrics.
Anybody else besides the War on Drugs that's doing it for you?
There are. Who am I listening? I mean, if you're talking about worship, then I'm really enjoying like United Pursuit stuff at the moment.
Early or late?
Pretty like this. Yeah, pretty current. Yeah, not all this stuff, but like I love how simple and again how it just feels like all the songs are coming out of genuine worship times, out of spontaneous moments, and
yeah, I think a lot of their music happens that way.
Yeah,
because those little choruses are so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they're connected to the same like 4-chord structure.
Yeah.
So it's almost,
yeah.
That tells me, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Will, correct me. It's fine. But it feels like maybe those were additions that have happened through the evolution of the song.
Yeah. I mean, and it's great. And then sometimes, the songs are a little rough around the edges, and maybe they had too much stuff to choose from, when they recorded it, or But it's really, I love it, and what I love about it is just that the love for God communicates through it, and they're not, I think they work to protect that as well, which you have to do, because I think it's quite easy to try and impress people loads with lots of crazy production and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I will say this: their music is so accessible. Anybody can play it. I think that's the appeal.
Yeah.
The lyrics are simple. The chords are simple. I could play it. You can pick up any of those little choruses, throw it at your home group, throw it on a Sunday morning. It works. Yeah. Yeah. Love that.
Yeah. I mean, I always find questions about what music are you into. I find it really hard because I listen to so much stuff. I haven't discovered anything brand new that I'm really loving for a little while, I guess.
Yeah.
I go through phases of wanting to discover new music, and then I get tired of listening to new stuff that I don't love sometimes.
Yeah.
And have to retreat, you know.
Well, I'm only staying semi-current because my 2 teenage sons help me.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I like some of it. Mm-hmm. What I'm finding though is they will send me some band, and I will love one of their songs, and I'm having a hard time finding a record that's new that I just think is the jam.
Yeah.
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 My boys, they're so into this band called Tame Impala. Mm-hmm. I think it's a perfect example of this, at least for me, somebody who's listening who's like, you're an idiot. But I think some of they have some songs I think they're beyond brilliant.
Yeah.
But as a record, I'm kind of like, meh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So send us your music recommendations, people.
Yeah.
I want a full record I can listen to that's amazing. All right. Hey, Sam, let's do this to end. Let's do some quick hitters. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we'll just, I'm going to strike the first question.
Okay.
Second question. What's your favorite TV show right now?
I just finished Stranger Things, which
Season 3?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I really loved it. I mean, it totally moved into horror a little bit more than I would normally like.
Yeah. My kids, they binged 4th of July.
Yeah.
Of course, that's not a holiday for you. It is for us. But they binged it. They loved it.
Yeah. It's a really amazing.
There you go.
Show.
Best British city for music.
You got to say London. Yeah.
London.
Yeah.
Not Manchester.
Nah. I've never been an Oasis fan, or a lot of the Manchester sound. I've never really connected with it.
Polarizing. Beatles or Stones?
Oh. I don't know. Beatles, I guess.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
And the last one, and I think maybe you've answered it. I don't know. Oasis or Blur?
No, Blur for sure. Yeah.
Blur for sure. Perfect.
Yeah.
Man, Sam, thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on. Hey, we have one more question. It's the question everybody gets on this podcast.
Yeah.
To end, will you just tell us a moment that you experienced great joy?
Yeah. Well, I knew this question was coming.
That's
as
right.
Everyone does now.
That's right. Everyone does.
And it's hard to pinpoint one. And I was going to avoid mentioning my kids.
Oh man, you should just mention them though. It's okay.
Well, I think for me, I'm finding a lot of joy in the day-to-day interactions with them.
Has anything in particular happened lately?
Well,
some just ridiculously cute kid moment.
Yeah, well, Eden, my 9-month-year-old, she's just beginning to talk. In fact, she said "daddy" on FaceTime earlier.
There you go. And
she's not really directed that at me before. She said it, but she's just shouting stuff. And she does this crazy low noise.
Yeah,
she's got a really low voice. So there's loads of joy there, and with Sonny, just making him smile, and he's at an age where he's wanting to do everything himself, and seeing the pride on his face, when he does something, and that's amazing, all that stuff.
It is, and it's funny how many times little moments like this are mentioned on the podcast to this question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know one way of looking at it could go, oh, this cliche. I don't think it is. There's just something really special about our kids and our families, and it is real.
Yeah, I think so. And, I've only been a father for 3 years, but it definitely is life-changing and expands your idea of God and his heart, you know, as well. It's an amazing little journey you get thrown on.
You do.
Yeah.
It's so good. Man, Sam, thanks for those stories.
Yeah,
hey,
pleasure.
thanks for telling the truth today too. That was some great stuff there. That's going to help people.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, listen, if you are listening to this podcast and you're not super familiar with Sam Lane or his music, you should check him out. He's got 2 records. Both are great. And there's a load of YouTube videos of him like leading with the Brits, and you should check those out too. All right, everybody. Till next time, high fives and hugs.
Hi, everyone. This is Melissa Keller, Events Director for Vineyard Worship. If you've been enjoying the podcast, I've got a couple of ways you could really help us. First of all, review the podcast on iTunes or the podcast platform of your choice. This helps more people find us. Also, connect with us on social media, Instagram at the Ferment Podcast and Twitter at FermentCast. Thanks for listening. See you next time.